Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Morgan Renee tuning in with you all for another reading of Storytime with More and Miley. I'm still in the book, Trying to Sleep in the Bed You Made by best friends Virginia D. Berry and Donna Grant. We are in chapter 26. It's winding down. Maybe I'll read 2 chapters at a time. How many? When's to the end? When's the end? 30? Okay, so we got 4 more chapters. So let's get into it. I think the last chapter, Patricia was getting married to Marcus. It's a lot going on. I can't keep up. All right, so I'm going to read the last paragraph of the last chapter and then get into 26. So the judge remarked on the enduring luster of the Dublin. In spite of the rough seas it had weathered, he told Marcus and Pat that they would need to do the same. From beginning to end, the wedding was over in less time than it took to scramble 2 eggs. So yeah, they got married. 26. Ain't nothing good as an old friend. What the hell came over me? Pat stomped through her apartment, slamming doors, trying to imagine packing all her stuff and moving it. To my husband's apartment? My husband? I don't have a damn job, but I have a husband? I must have been out of my mind. Pat stayed dizzy with love in the days just after the ceremony. When she and Marcus left Zach O's place, Pat thought it would be fun to tag along on Marcus's football scouting stops, but quickly realized she had no appetite for jock talk or watching barbarians in helmets pound each other into astroturf. She remembered she didn't get the whole tailgate big game ritual when she was in college, and nothing had changed. At both Florida State and A&M, Marcus arranged get-acquainted receptions to meet the athletic staff and their wives. He proudly introduced Pat as his bride. She, too, was proud, watching how confidently he hobnobbed at the packed parties. And when the cocktail talk turned to her, she fell off her mark, anxious for these people to recognize she used to be a powerful decision-maker, too. Pat struggled for a simple explanation of her former career, felt lost when she couldn't reel off her future plans, and when one of the alumni, a developer who made big donations to his alma mater, said, "Honey, you can work full-time and spending his money," Pat laughed dryly, but at that moment she felt like a gold digger. "We both know who you are and what you've done. What does it matter what these people think?" Marcus delivered the pep talk earnestly. Pat knew he meant it, but she hated for people to believe she spent her life fishing and finally reeled in a prize catch. During his 3 days in New York, they tried to tie up loose ends and bring their lives together, but Pat got even more frazzled. They discussed throwing a wedding reception, but she couldn't get beyond the uneasy flutter in her stomach whenever he called her Mrs. Carter, which seemed to be his favorite name for her, but she didn't have one before. Marcus had the bigger apartment, so Pat grudgingly agreed to move to his penthouse for the time being, even though she found Lower Manhattan sterile. "We can take our time finding a place to buy, maybe in the city. Maybe out of town, someplace with breathing space and a space for a swing set," he said as the locksmith ground each a set of keys to the other's place. I thought she was moving into his apartment. Why are they grinding keys for both their places? Hold on. "We can take our time finding a place, someplace on it," he said as the locksmith ground each a set of keys to the other's place. Okay. A swing set? Now I'm supposed to stay barefoot and pregnant? When he offhandedly mentioned he wasn't crazy about her furniture, Pat went off. She was perfectly happy with her furniture, she said, and if he thought she was going to live with just a couch and a bed, he had another thing coming. He apologized that her furniture was okay for now and suggested she could do some decorating while he was away. She informed him she was going to find a job, not shop for curtains. Marcus went for a long walk. For someone so used to functioning with a committee of one, the sudden shift to us and we wasn't sitting well, especially since Pat felt Marcus had everything to give and all she could do now was take. Marcus tried to get Pat to travel with him. "You can do what you want during the day and we'll be together every second I'm free because we have a lot to catch up on." She wouldn't go. "This is your show. You don't need me in the way while you run it." "But what are you going to do for Thanksgiving, baby? You're not planning to sit in the dark and call out for turkey fried rice, are you?" "No, I'm not," Pat answered, even though she would have preferred it. "For your information, I had plans before we got hitched." Pat explained about Darlene at a hand up. "Why does it have to be there?" Marcus scowled. "What about Turner?" "Believe me, I wish it was someplace else too, but he's not involved in day-to-day operations. Come to think of it, he was never at the center unless there was a film crew there to record it. Anyway, Darlene is a special little girl who's had a rough life. I wouldn't want to disappoint her." Pat made it sound like she looked forward to the occasion, and she was always happy to see Darlene, but she really wanted to skip the outing and take to her bed until she figured out how she ended up married to Marcus. "Darlene's lucky to have somebody like you in her corner." Pat changed the subject. The night before Marcus left, Pat staggered to the bathroom at 3 a.m., half asleep, and splashed butt first into the toilet. She woke him up wet and mad. Don't you look? He doubled over, laughing. I shouldn't have to. Pat fumed until morning. At breakfast, he mentioned the dreaded M word, and she about bit his head off. I have enough money, thank you. I wouldn't be on the street with a paper cup if you hadn't come along, Marcus. Marcus was worried about his long-term recruiting swing, and his patience was thin as an onion skin. I'm not trying to buy you or your damn love. It was a simple question. If you need money, you can have it. No strings. I was just looking out for you. Nothing I say is right. Their goodbyes were curt and nippy. Pat pecked him on the cheek, and he left for the airport. That's when the doubts joined her for breakfast and stuck around to make her wonder if the I do was a colossal mistake. All the arrangements she made to vacate her place reminded her of the huge leap she had taken with no preparation. She got estimates from movers and realized she'd be living with a man whose habits were foreign to her. She didn't know if he was an early bird or a night owl, if he liked showers or baths, or maybe he liked to haul off and beat the stuffing out of his woman when things weren't going his way. She didn't think so, but how could she be sure? She hadn't been right about much of anything lately. While filling out a post office change of address form she brought home, she was annoyed by the little piles of receipts and loose change scattered on tables and counter all over her apartment. I'm not Cinderella, and this is no damn fairy tale. How did I let him convince me we could live happily ever after? There's no such animal. Marcus phoned at least twice a day, always sounding happier than a pig in shit. He reported his progress, discussed his strategy, and told her how much he missed the way she backed her butt into him when they curled up together at night, or the way she looked just like the 9-year-old he remembered when she woke up in the morning. Sometimes he made her laugh, and she was so happy she ached inside. At others, she was just looking for a reason to say, let's call this off before things get ugly. Thanksgiving morning, Darlene called, so excited her words, so excited her words slid together. You still coming, right? I'm going to set the table so you sit next to me. Aunt Millie says I can't wear you to death, but I'm not, right? I can't hardly wait because I love Thanksgiving, and you can get to meet my new friend. She's my same age, and she used to take dance class like Al and Ailey and stuff. She's only been here a little while, but I think we're going to be best friends. Darlene was waiting by the signing desk when Pat arrived. Darlene's hair combing skills had improved, and she had a neat little ponytail and bangs that framed her eager eyes. She wore jeans and a pink sweater set Pat gave her for her birthday. You look pretty, Missy, Pat said. Darlene grinned and looked like she would burst. She fished Pat's hand out of her coat pocket, and her cigarette pack fell to the floor. Miss Pat, could I say something? Of course. I don't like it that you smoke. It means you're going to die. They told us that in school. I don't want you to die, she pleaded. Does it worry you that much? Darlene bobbed her head. I know I should quit. It's really hard when you've been smoking a long time. You can do anything. I could throw them away for you. Darlene held up the pack. Pat was concerned, but she was also moved. Okay, I'll try. She watched Darlene ball up the pack and dart off to put them in the trash. Come on! Darlene tugged at her arm. Pat thought it was odd that there was only one staffer on the door. Usually there were two. Must be the holiday. Guess most people go home to their families. The floors in the halls and elevator looked overdue for a washing too, but that couldn't be her problem. It was hard enough being in the building. Even after the commercial fell through, the AHUP director urged her to stay involved. Funding is tight these days. We could use a person with your drive, she had said. Pat made excuses about being busy with her job hunt, but once Darlene and her family were out of the center, she was never going back. My friend just went upstairs to get her mama. She's a real nice girl. She's in a bad mood a lot, but she just got out of the hospital when she came here. Her arm and legs still ain't right yet, so I guess it hurts sometimes. The dining hall smelled like carrots and canned gravy to Pat. Floor needs mopping here, too. But drawings and collages done by children decorated the walls. The room hummed with kid energy like a gymnasium, and the line of families heading for their seats was bisected by the servers, who rushed by with platters of sliced turkey and bowls of mashed potatoes. Dinner won't be like it used to at Nana's. I miss her sweet potatoes, but we're going to have cranberry sauce. Darlene twirled and tried to emphasize how good that was. Pat saw Mildred standing by the table and waving, and she waved back. Darlene saw her too, but made a beeline toward the long tables across the room. Hey girl, what you doing sitting down? Where's your mama? Despite a smile, something about this child looked depressed to Pat. She's here, isn't she? She's here, isn't she? Who knows why? Her hair cascaded down her back, and the striped polo shirt she wore seemed loose, like it was bought to grow into or maybe handed down. I couldn't carry the tray, so Mom went to get it. She looked at Pat, sizing her up like she was used to grown-ups. Hello, my name is... Wait, I'm going to introduce you if you give me a chance. Darlene let go of Pat's hand, and in her best etiquette said, Miss Patricia, this is my new girlfriend, Vanessa. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Vanessa, this is my grown-up friend, Miss Patricia. Pleased to meet you. Pat held out her hand, and Vanessa reached out to shake it. The movement seemed stiff, awkward. Vanessa, funny. She's about the right age. Here comes your mama, Darlene announced. Pat turned to look, and the room noise dropped away. Her heart thumped wildly, sending a deafening rush through her ears as she stared into the face of a ghost. Gail's long hair was chopped off to his jaw, and gray strands salted the pepper. She had always been slender, but now she looked gaunt and faded, a shadow, not the vibrant woman Pat last saw. It can't be. Gail? Pat sputtered. She took 2 steps, then froze. Gail stood rod straight, holding her tray of institutional bounty. You can stop staring and go on about your business. You didn't want to know me before. Kick me out of your room. Don't bother speaking now. Gail's lips curled around the bitter words like she practiced, hoping for a chance to say them out loud. Pat was speechless. Sure, she remembered the day she put Gail out of her apartment and out of her life. Pat spent years trying to forget the hour she waited for Gail at that clinic, finally dragging herself home, drained and bleeding. Gail finally showed up, dressed sharp as new photo money, sparkling with jewelry and youthful beauty. I tried, she had said, expecting to be forgiven. I kept my baby, she had said when she wasn't. If Gail had reached in and torn out Pat's heart, it couldn't have hurt any worse, and Pat had despised her for that. But this woman barely resembled the Gail she had known. She looked old and the kind of weary that sleep alone won't cure. What happened? Mom! Vanessa, hush and move that glass so I can set this tray down. The children looked at each other, baffled. Gail, that was 10 years ago. I was mad and hurt, and you know I'm not talking about 10 years ago. Just this summer, you looked me dead in my face and ordered me out like I was a mangy dog or something. What are you talking about? There were plenty of times Pat wondered about her, but those moments always ended with an image of Gail updating her wardrobe and making a lovely home for her family. Living in a shelter never made the list of possibilities. Don't deny it, Pat. You ignored me and it hurt like it was supposed to, but I deserved that. So why don't we call it even? I apologize for leaving you alone that day. I didn't do it on purpose. I know you needed me and I wasn't there, okay? Satisfied? I would have said it then if you let me, but listen to me. I never saw you this summer. What room? This is quite a festive crowd we have for the first Thanksgiving here at a Hand Up, New York. The Reverend stood in the center of the room. His smile gave him chipmunk cheeks that made him look too young to be ordained. I'd say we're all about ready to take part in the giving thanks and to partake in this joyous Thanksgiving repast. So if you would all take your seats, we can get underway. Darlene, honey, you should get to your table. You don't want Aunt Millie come and look for you. Gail turned her back and sat down. Pat decided it was better to pursue this after the meal. Let's go, Darlene. You know Miss Gail? Darlene whispered, trying to make sense of what she had seen from a long time ago. But you pretended you didn't know her? No, I'd never do that. Pat was somewhere outside herself looking in. She must have made a mistake and thought it was you. Just tell her after dinner. It'll be okay. Darlene looked satisfied with her conclusion. The Reverend blessed everybody, including the farmers, who raised the gorgeous, nourishing food we are about to receive. Gail is living in a shelter. How is that possible? Dinner seemed endless. Pat had to make herself stop staring at Gail's back across the room. Fortunately, Mildred was so happy to have the company of another adult at her table, Pat didn't have to say much to stimulate conversation. How are your classes going? You take word processing and business accounting, right? Supposed to be. I thought this place was going to be so different. And it's okay as far as shelters go, but better than those roach motels they make you stay in. Mildred turned briefly to her sons. Stop mixing up your cranberry sauce and potatoes. And you, don't let me catch you kicking your brother under the table again. You hear me? Darlene ate her turkey, wearing her R&I being good face and listening intently to the grown-up conversation. Where was I? Here's better than the roach motels. Darlene refreshed her aunt's memory. Thank you, Angel. Anyway, when we first got here, you could set your watch by how things got done. Meals on time, teachers in class, sweep the floors, bit. But now, shoot, the teachers are here like every other day. The computers are sitting up there, but no teacher, no touch. You can't learn that stuff unless you practice it. Whatever little bit of Pat's brain that wasn't focused on Gail thought this sounded odd. Mildred went on to tell her how the training for non-residents hadn't started yet. First they said June, then September. Now they're saying January. But the story is stale. My friend Zenia keep asking me about it, and I can't tell her nothing new. But at least I gave that big shot who they say started this place 2 earfuls of me. What? Pat was only half listening, but the big shot got her attention. Oh, yeah. He came down here big and black as he wanted to be with his big old hound eyes, showing some muckety-muck from Washington around. He was patting people on the head like we was all good little cheering. Shoot, I told him if this the best he can get, if this the best hand up he can give, he better keep it in his pocket. He was none too happy with me, but I got a tongue and 2 lips and I must speak. He says he gonna look into it, but at least he can't say nobody told him. Turner. It used to be that he mattered, but not anymore. What mattered now was figuring out what Gail was talking about. Anyway, my father moved back to Gulfport, Mississippi, where his people are from. I've been thinking about moving, me and the kids, and starting over. Never thought I'd say that, but it might be the best thing. When the table was cleared and it was time for a dessert, Darlene went to get the tray of spice cake and ice cream for her family, and Pat saw Vanessa walk slowly, painfully toward the service counter. Excuse me, Mildred, I need to talk to an old friend. Living here? Life sure can't mess with you, can it? Mildred replied. Pat walked to Gail's table. Is there a place we can talk? There's no need. Some things can't be fixed. I learned that the hard way. Gail brushed at the hair that used to lie on her shoulders. Seemed startled. It wasn't there. Hear me out. This won't take long. Vanessa was on her way back to the table, and Pat waved Darlene over. Would it be okay with your aunt if Vanessa had dessert with you? Sure. She winked at Pat as they walked away. Gail sucked her teeth and, without looking at Pat, got up and led the way to one of the daycare rooms down the hall. And there they stood. They traveled by different paths, each with heavy baggage to shoulder, but they arrived at the crossroads together. Gail, I don't know who you saw, but it wasn't me. For so long, Pat had viewed Gail through a lens distorted by anger, colored by hurt, but looking at her straight on, Pat realized there was more to what they had shared than that. For the first time in years, she felt the strong pull of their shared past. I may have lost everything else, but my eyesight is still good. Gail recited chapter and verse of the morning at West Center that had been branded in her memory. Pat sank to the red preschool tabletop. You're right. It was me. She looked directly in Gail's eyes, searching for that place where they used to tell each other the truth without even speaking. But I swear on my life, I didn't see you. You didn't want to see me. Just admit it so we can go our separate ways. Because I didn't realize till now how bad I miss you, and I can't take this much longer. No, not our separate ways. Not again. I had just come from meeting my father. Your father? Gail's harsh demeanor was softened by the impact of Pat's words. Pat nodded. And he basically told me to go to hell. When I got to my room, I didn't see or hear anything but what he said to me. I wish I had seen you, but I just couldn't. Voices and the clatter of plates and forks from down the hall filled the void as each adjusted her view of now based on a new understanding of then. You found your father? And he said that? Gail spoke quietly. Pat nodded and brushed at the tear that dripped onto her skirt. They were silent again. Pat looked up. Gail, what happened? I mean, what are you doing here? The short version, Ramsey was a gambler. I was blind and dumb, so busy looking I forgot to see. Remember we used to say that? Anyway, he lost it all, then ran off and killed himself just before last Christmas. I'm so sorry. Pat cringed, feeling Gail's pain. We kind of had life pieced together, Mama and Vanessa and me. I was working as a receptionist and at the hotel, and then there was a fire. Vanessa got hurt real bad, and Mama, Gail's voice cracked and her fragile composure dissolved. I lost Mama. Telling Pat, who had eaten those buttermilk donuts around the kitchen table, brought home the enormous ache she hadn't made time to feel. Aunt Loretta? The shock of sadness brought Pat to her feet. Tentatively, they reunited in a hug that felt familiar and long overdue. As they clung to each other and cried, time and space fell away, and they were in front of the house at St. Albans the day Pat came to stay. I love you, Patty. I love you, too. Each remembered, but neither said a word. They held on to each other a long time, each one comforted and comforter. When they finally let go, both felt sheepish after the outburst. Gail found folded brown paper towels stacked by the teacher's desk. She took one to dry her eyes and handed one to Pat. I have to get back, Gail said, before Vanessa and Darlene come looking for us. More composed now, Pat explained how she met Darlene. You'll stay with me. There's a sofa bed in the second room, but it can easily fit 2 twins. It'll be crowded, but there's a separate bath and... Marcus. Hold it. I can't let you do that. Why the hell not? Marcus, that's why. I got a place. You need one. They walked against the wave of residents leaving the feast. Who do I tell first? I'll figure it out. Stop thinking and keep talking. This isn't bad, but I know you're tired of life without a kitchen. You can still come here for whatever classes you're taking. It's hardly worth the car fare. They're not teaching me much. When she and Gail entered the dining hall again, the boys had already gone, but the 2 girls and Mildred were watching the door. At the table, Gail said, Happy Thanksgiving, Mildred. Vanessa, I want you to meet somebody special to me. Like your best friend? Darlene was all into the story. It's so nice y'all found each other, Mildred said. My daddy used to say, ain't nothing good as an old friend. Vanessa, you remember me talking about Pat? We grew up together. The same Pat you said ditched you on your job? We straightened all that out. Say hello to your Aunt Pat. You don't have any brothers or sisters, so she can't be my aunt. Vanessa wasn't buying into the warm and fuzzy moment. Gail said goodnight to Mildred, and Pat apologized to Darlene for leaving so abruptly, but Darlene didn't mind. She held Pat's hand as they all walked to the elevator. Now that you have Miss Gail and Vanessa, you won't forget me, right? I'll never, ever forget you, Darlene. Pat hugged her and promised to call tomorrow. Gail's apartment was on the floor below Mildred's, and it looked pretty much the same, except Gail's walls were covered with artwork. There were portraits of her mother and father, and one of her and Vanessa all together, all copied from photographs. A delicate watercolor of a formal garden hung over the donated sofa. This looks like Paris, Pat said. Central Park. I go for a breather while Vanessa was in the hospital here in the city. Reminds me of when I lived with you. Our room with your drawings all over the walls. You still have any of them? What didn't get thrown away got burned up. I never missed them until too late. Vanessa, nightgown in hand, closed herself in the bathroom. She's so miserable. Her whole life changed almost overnight. I don't know if it'll ever be the same, but I can't even say the worst is over because I'm afraid too. Look, move in with me and take all the time you need to get yourself together. I have to tell her. How am I supposed to say that of all people in the world, I married Marcus? We'd be in the way. Gail perched on the sofa, hands clasped in her lap. We share tighter spots. We'll manage. Pat sat next to her. Gail, I didn't ever think I'd see her again. I need to know where Vanessa goes to school. I have almost 3 weeks to tell both of them. She's been on home study, but in 2 weeks she's supposed to start at an elementary school not far from here. Fine, we'll get her registered near my place. It's perfect. I don't know. We haven't lived together in a long time, and we haven't exactly been close. That's true, but I can't leave you here. I know what it's like living in an institution. It's not a home. I know your mom wasn't exactly crazy about me being there. Mama, just don't apologize. She took me in anyway, and I love her for it. Pat put her hand over Gail's. You'll be on your feet again, but for now, my place is yours. Vanessa came out of the bathroom. Her red plaid gown came down to the floor, and she had long sleeves that covered her arms to the wrist. Gail and Pat exchanged a long, deep gaze, then Gail turned to her daughter. Vanessa, Aunt Pat has offered to let us live with her. Great. That'll be 5 moves since January, counting hospitals, and we still don't have our own house, Vanessa blurted. And I don't know when we will, but I want to get us an apartment real soon. If we move with Aunt Pat now, you can get enrolled in school over there, and you won't have to change again, Gail said. Whatever, I'm going to bed. Vanessa went into her room and closed the door. It's like this every day. Nothing I do makes it better. I know she's spoiled, but she's just had a terrible year. I'm coming for you tomorrow. She'll poke out her lips and be mad for a while, but she'll get over it. Saturday, I'll never be ready tomorrow. Saturday, then. I don't know how to, no need. Get some rest. You've got packing to do. When Pat got home, she surveyed her apartment to see what needed rearranging. Finding Gail at a hand up like that was a shock to her system. In the middle of yanking used-to-fit clothes out of the guest closet, she noticed her message light flashing. How's my baby? I had a whole heap of football and too much dry-ass turkey. Who likes turkey anyway? Shit, what the hell am I going to tell him? I know we just got married, but while you were away, I found Gail and invited her to move in. You don't mind, do you, honey? What a stupid name. Why would anybody decide to call a grown man Honey? She fixed the drink and examined her options one at a time. I can't tell Gail we're married before she moves in. She'll never leave A-Hub. And if she's got to get out of there, what if she still loves him? Pat remembered watching them kiss in front of the house. I'm supposed to move in with Marcus anyway, so they can have this place to themselves for a while. That makes sense, doesn't it? Pat hemmed and hawed about calling Marcus back and came down on the hall side. She was still trying to digest the horror story Gail had served up to her. Gail should be in the corner somewhere babbling and drooling. How did she stand it? Besides, Marcus knows how close we were growing up. I lived in Gail's house. He'll understand I have to do this. She fingered the coin around her neck. What's he going to say? You ought to leave her there? He wouldn't come out of his mouth with any stuff like that. Pat got a pack of cigarettes from the carton in the kitchen. Tomorrow. I'll quit tomorrow. She snatched the phone book and looked up M for mattress. I'll tell him tomorrow. No, too busy. I won't have a sane moment for a conversation like this, and he'll just be as crazy since he said this is a big football weekend, games and parties around the clock. Shit. Next week, another cigarette. She started a list. Have the super move the sofa bed from the bathroom to the storage room in the basement. Get twin beds and linen. She remembered how Uncle Joe and Aunt Loretta got her a new bed, and she and Gail both got new matching sheets and bedspreads. She never let anybody know, but that had meant a lot. When I moved in with Marcus, Gail would have my room and Vanessa would have an extra bed for company. Maybe Darlene can sleep over since they've become friends. It'll be good for both of them. Marcus called early Friday. He was checking out of his hotel to catch a flight to Lansing to Iowa City. Tomorrow he leaves for Nebraska. He had good talks with two offensive linemen and a running back so far and was excited about his prospects. But I sure do miss you, woman. When she heard his voice, she realized she missed him too. She talked about Thanksgiving next year and how she hoped they spend it together. She talked about only liking the dark meat on turkey, anything to avoid mentioning the specifics of yesterday. Maybe I'll have a surprise for you when you get back. She knew she shouldn't have said it in the moment it came out. At best, it was a pretty sick joke, but she just didn't know how she would tell him about Gail over the phone and was glad to have time to develop a strategy. Pat spent the day shopping and organizing. Even buying mattresses were delivered and set up, beds made with white eyelet sheets and dust ruffles, and finished off with down comforters. She had a fleeting moment when she thought of calling the movers and having them pack her stuff and take it down to Marcus's place and out the way, but she decided she wanted to spend time with Gail first. They had a lot of ground to cover. I'll get a fresh start in the new year. New apartment, new husband, new life. I'll find the right job. It sounded good if she didn't think about it for long. Otherwise, it made her nauseous. Just as in her producing days, Pat overlooked no detail other than answering the annoying little voice that wondered what would happen if Marcus and Gail didn't get along, and what would happen if they did. Are you sure this is a good idea? Gail asked that evening when Pat called to check in. If we stay on here, it doesn't mean you and I have to be strangers again. You two are the closest people I have to family. Well, not exactly. Marcus is my family now, too. I just wish we found each other sooner. When she hung up, Pat felt like she was hovering between Gail and Marcus, juggling switchblades. If she didn't catch them just right, somebody was going to bleed. Lord, this is a hot mess. All right, I'm stopping there. We'll pick up on chapter 27 another day. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace.